Wow. Oh, ready to go. Welcome, everybody. Big Joe.
How's it going, Denny?
What is going on?
Living the American dream.
All right. Well, I got 1 o'clock on the nose, and we're going to get started. So thanks for being on time. Oh, yeah. I thought maybe I ordered a book Gary Keller suggested we read called Pizza Tiger by Monahan, the guy from Domino's. Anyway, that wasn't it. Denny Grimes here from Naples, Florida. Welcome you guys on the call and Facebook Live fans. This is our scripted role play day. We're going to be sharing some things, maybe some issues you're dealing with. And I had a brainstorm this morning. I made a post already on the Bold Facebook page, and I'm going to get your take on this, on the market that's going on right now. So I'll just see if it all works. First thing I'd like to do, you can see the screen behind me. If you haven't already done this, this would be a great library for you. What we're doing is attempting to put everything in a YouTube channel, so you'll have access to watch it over and over again, share it with friends, etc. I had a hard time finding it. I mean, it's Denny Delivers, and there's a lot of Denny's, and there's all kinds of, there's like a NASCAR driver keeps coming up. However, this is how it looks. It's got me on the stage, Denny Delivers. If you would go and subscribe to that, that would be awesome. I'll put you in a drawing for free tickets to Greece, which I love that movie. So that'd be nice if you do that. Here's my big thought. Let me share a couple ideas with you first, and then we'll open it up to see what's going on in your world. I was out walking today and I listened to scripture first, and then I listened to Joel Osteen, and then I'll listen to Gary Keller or something, or maybe a podcast on the Buccaneers, because I'm a big Buck fan and Tom Brady's going to be there, right? So Tom Brady's been called the GOAT. And I didn't really know what the GOAT was. And I had decided to look it up. And so it's the greatest of all times. And I had the thought today, get this, are we in a GOAT market? Are we in the greatest of all time real estate markets? So I want you to think about that just a little bit. Now, you can comment, unmic yourself. If you're in a quiet spot, or go in the chat room. I got Sunny. Sunny, you there? She's monitoring from my office, and she's my
I'm here.
Thank you, Sunny. So what are y'all thinking on that? The greatest market of all time being right now. Anybody have some vantage point? I've got 37 years, and not that, you'd have to have that many years. I've been through some ups and downs. Any thoughts, any comments on this being a GOAT market? There's what they call the Bulls and the Bears, and we have the GOAT. So who's got a comment? We got a chat there. And so Sunday, does that have to do with anything?
I'll chime in, Denny. I've got some thoughts on this. I think in a lot of ways you're absolutely right. This would be a GOAT market, in that there's never been a time, at least not in my life, where a client needs our assistance, needs our insights, needs our knowledge and resources more than ever right now, with all of the uncertainty in the market.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, you talk to a lot of different agents, and you have an opportunity to influence a lot of agents through the KCN network, and even the PC coaches that are influencing many, many agents. So any other comments? Thanks, Joe, for that. Any other comments? Either type it in or speak up, because I think it's significant, you guys. I think it's significant because mindset is everything. And if we chew on this a little bit, and let's just hypothetically say, and I'll give you some reasons why I think it maybe is. If we really believe that it is the GOAT market, right? Would we be a little bit more convicted to have, hey, look, sellers get off the fence and get into the market, as Gary Keller suggests? So come on, you guys, don't be shy. We're gonna have a drawing one year for the trip to Greece. Next time it shows at the Bijou. Any other comments? Faye, are you on? Yeah, Faye, you're on. You've got 40 years experience. What's your 2 cents worth?
Is this the GOAT market? Absolutely. It's, but every market is. It's only as great as you make it, because if you don't participate, it doesn't matter what's going on out there.
True. However, if you ever had a magical day in your life, and you know, when you wake up and it's the right temperature, you go on a run, and you have your PR, your best time, and all things are clicking. And so I understand what you're saying there. However, would you not say the stars are aligned, though, Faye, in a lot of ways for this being probably the best market ever? In fact, could you say it the other way? If you can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere.
Anywhere.
Like whatchamacallit, he sings in New York, New York.
Yep.
You
Frank
see
Sinatra. You're right. Absolutely. If you can't make it in this market, then you need to be doing something else.
Right. So let me go through any other comments, because you guys, I haven't mastered the ability to make Zoom people talk. So maybe I should have maybe a puppet show. Sock puppets. We can make sock puppets next time. Okay, so here's the thing, as I think about when people will start to ask, and the people have already asked me about the bubble. And I want you to be bulletproof on this. We don't have the ingredients of a bubble. And so what I did is I just put some things here. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll read them off to you if you can't. I mean, there's no bubble coming up right now because, number one, a bubble market is created when there's an excess or growing inventory. You cannot have a bubble with no inventory, right? Secondly, there's low speculation. When I go back and compare, probably the best real estate period of time that I can remember was probably back from 2003 to 2005. It was just like crazy, and it led up to the real estate bubble. You guys in Phoenix and there and other markets around the country, you guys felt it. Las Vegas and Fort Myers, we were the poster children for a bubble burst. So what happened was we had a lot of speculators. So, you know, so speculators and investors can fuel the market to white hot. However, a market is only sustained long-term by users. So when you think about the people that are buying, you know, we're not having people buy 2 or 3 homes. I call them half-time buyers, meaning back in 2005, at the peak of the market, we had builders that were building houses on spec. The husband and wife at halftime of a Florida State football game on Saturday would run to 7-Eleven, pick up another 6-pack and some Cheetos, and on the way back, they'd stop at a model home, sign a contract for 2 homes to be built that would be delivered sometime in 8, 10, 15 months. They had no earthly means of qualifying for that. And back then, you didn't have to qualify because they were going to flip it. And so it created a huge flux of inventory because people were speculating. And then basically when the rug was pulled out from under everyone, they couldn't close, and then you had excess inventory. So buyers are users, and even the new home builders are not heavy in spec inventory. So when you look at it, it's like fishing in a trout pond. You put a kernel of corn on your hook, and if you're in that sweet spot, and it's not all price points, in that sweet spot, there's probably never been a better market. So, and I'm going to go on record to say probably this period of time is the GOAT market based on my 37 years experience. And I don't remember anyone ever talking about a market better than this one. Now, that doesn't mean it's better for you, because going back to Faye's point is, you know, what should we be doing now? Gary said in June, now's the time to talk to sellers to get them off the fence. He said last week, and I talked about this, is look, there's trouble coming. We have to wait and see. However, there's tremendous opportunities, you guys, right now, because this is probably the best market you've ever been in. And I know I got some young people out there, maybe the best market you have seen in a while. Don't let it spoil you. So let's talk about some objections and some questions that have come in from the Bold page and other agents that like reach out to me. And when we go through these, I want to follow this kind of strategy. When you hear a objection, what I attempted to kind of model this for you, Gary talks about models and systems, is number one, find the pain point. No matter what buyer or seller says, there is a pain point there. You got to find it and exploit it a little bit. And sometimes you have to ask, number two, ask an extreme question that makes them think. It's almost, and somebody taught me a long time ago, if you want to make an argument, it has to hold up in the extremes. we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then once you find out where their boundaries are, like I will never buy. I mean, I'm not going to buy until COVID's over with. Okay, well, if the house were free, would you take it? That's an extreme statement, right? That's a slap upside the head. And say, well, sure, I take it. It was free. Now you know that COVID has nothing to do with it. Now you start to backfill until you have an argument. So these are some of the things that have come in, and we can take some requests. So if you have a situation, go ahead and type it in, and we'll get to it. I'm just going to go through a couple that already came in. All right, so here's a buyer objection. Said, I'm worried about this market and the low inventory. I don't like the lack of selection and the, quote, rush of the market. Meaning they were saying, I'm not getting into some sort of bidding war, so we will wait. So sound familiar with anybody out there? So going back to the previous slide, what is the pain point on that? Anyone, just shout it out or type it in. Sonny's watching the chat, whatever you want to do. Unless you can help them see where the pain point is of their logic, they will stay on that path. It's like talking to a teenager, right? There's going to be a day of reckoning sometimes for people's decision. What's the day of reckoning for the buyer in that situation? Going back to it again so you can see it. I'm worried about this market and a low inventory. I don't like the lack of selection and the rush of the market, so we will wait. Anyone want to take that on?
Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity, right? Okay, so that is a pain point. Go explain further, please, because there's always going to be homes for sale, right?
Yeah, but missed opportunity, not only, you know, we don't know how long this interest rate's going to last, but maybe that's the perfect house for them and they miss out on it.
Okay, I buy that. Awesome. Who's got another one? What's the pain point?
I think the pain point is that the buyers don't want to overpay.
Okay, they don't want to overpay. Now, Faye, let's go back because I think, oh, James, by the way, congratulations. I saw some sort of announcement on Facebook, right? Did you make a change recently or am I reading something that's old?
No, you're right. I joined Andrew Bloom in the BBO Luxury.
Nice job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, Faye, can you think of the buyers don't want to overpay? Is that a new concern or has that been going on since the people were using stones for down payments?
Well, you know, I got in the market right after we gave up stone tablets and chisels, but even then people were concerned about overpaying.
Right. Awesome. So that's their concern. What's the pain point of them overpaying?
I think a lot of people are concerned that they're going to purchase something and then all of a sudden, because of the circumstances in the world right now, the market's going to take a dip and they're going to end up having paid more than if they would have waited.
All right. I don't know if you could hear that, Howard. You know, they're worried about if they make a selection now that we were basically saying the market would change and go out from under them.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, I think a lot of people are worried that they're going to pay the market's high right now. They're going to pay the higher price for a home and then the market's going to change because of, you know, the current circumstances in the world, and they're going to end up having paid more than they would have.
Right. Okay. So, all right. So another way of me saying this is, okay, if that's their thinking, the pain point then ask this in your mind, what's their alternative, you guys? What is the buyer's alternative? They only have two decisions, buy or not buy, right? It's binary, buy or not buy. So they choose to not to buy. What could be the pain point then?
Prices just keep going up.
Yes, there's people, I tell you what, there's people that are waiting for the market to correct, and they've been waiting for 10 years because there hasn't been any major correction or even maybe a minor speed bump over the last 10 years. So imagine what that person's doing if they're waiting for something to change. Now, this is just us, okay? And so when I go to the second point is, okay, what kind of question could be a question that would help them help break their mental, the mental path that they're on is this. They're waiting for something better to come along. Now, a crazy question would be, and I've done this before, and I don't know, I can do it with you guys because we're just having fun here. I just want you to get the drift. A crazy question would be, it reminds me of someone who's married. I'll ask them if they're married. So I'm going to go back over to you, James. James, are you married?
Yes.
All right. So let me ask you a question. And I just want to know if you could pull this off. Maybe you have the right relationship with the person, right? So James, you're married, right? Well, did you have any concern? I mean, technically speaking, when we elect a mayor, marry somebody, we're saying yes to someone and we're saying no to everybody else, correct?
Correct.
It's kind of like buying a house. When we're saying yes to the house, is there a possibility, like you're saying, maybe the market will change, maybe there would be a better opportunity that comes down the pike, correct?
Yes.
Did you have that thought when you decided that sweet little thing should be Mrs. James, or did you think there may be a better opportunity? I'll wait.
No, I'd lived in lots of other houses and I knew that was the one I wanted.
Okay, so now you get the analogy. Does it make sense? I mean, the bottom line is people have to make choices, and sometimes if you have the type of relationship with them that you can ask a question like that, and there could be other questions that stop them, make them think. You set up a boundary. Now, I'll use a more appropriate question because I think that one's kind of fun. I'll just use something that's more appropriate. Okay, and I'll just stick with you, James, if it's okay, because you have your mic on.
Sure.
And you're that buyer right here. And so I understand you're worried. How long are you willing to wait?
Well, we live up in Colorado and we're looking for a second home down here. So we're in no rush. So we're thinking maybe a year and a half.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's just fast forward and go to a year and a half. And now what you're looking at for, because you're in Phoenix, I believe, is more expensive. Then what will you do?
Well, then we figure our house will be worth more too at that point. If the market keeps going up, it'll go up everywhere. So we'll sell and then buy what we want when we're ready.
I thought this was going to be a second home.
Yeah, but I mean, well, we have equity in our first home, so we could use that for the second home.
Okay, so, all right, so I understand you're not in a hurry. So let me ask you this then. What is the reason why well, let's say a year and a half from now, I mean, why are you wanting to move? I'm going to just go to motivation, because now I'm going to go back to, what will it cost you to wait a year and a half?
Well, my daughter-in-law lives down in Phoenix, and so we come down and visit her and help out. So we might want to spend the winters down here.
Would she like that?
Yeah, she's kind of hinted that she'd like us to find a place down here.
And does she have children? Do you have grandkids there?
Not yet, but we expect some soon.
Okay. Okay, so what will you say? What's her name, by the way?
What's what?
Was your daughter-in-law, your daughter?
Oh, Lisa.
Okay, she's the one that lives in Phoenix. She wants you to have a place in Phoenix to spend more time with her, right?
Right, correct.
So when you're delaying, what are you going to say to Lisa?
I said, well, I guess we'll still come down and stay with you and come visit till we find a place.
And she might ask you the same question. How long is that going to be?
She might.
So, I mean, would you tell her that, well, really, you just don't feel comfortable making an investment, or you're waiting for the market to change?
Yeah, we're kind of feeling like, it's a big seller's market, and we think we should just kind of sit on the sidelines and see if things don't change. Nothing goes up forever, so let's see which way it's going to go here in the future.
Now, in the back of my mind, guys, I think we're going to start getting that kind of a chatter from buyers, particularly non-primary buyers that aren't in a real big hurry. And they're particularly as we get closer to the election, I think things will probably somehow get back to some sort of normal after that. However, I believe people that may be like, okay, so Phoenix and Fort Myers and Naples, and we have snowbirds, and so they don't need to be here before January 1 or when it gets cold somewhere else. I think that if you're not hearing it already, I think you're going to get some pushback for those buyers. So I want you to be ready to have a dialogue, because those folks if you ask them on the 1 to 10 scale, their motivation wouldn't be that high unless you dig a little bit.
And
Right. Don't take things at face value. So what kind of questions come to your guys' mind right now? Because here's someone, second home, they got a reason to move there. They're not in a hurry. And they're looking, because I asked the question, if you wait a year and a half, what's the big deal? Well, if it goes up, that's okay. My house will go up. Where would you take it now? Because you know why he wants to be there. They're not in a hurry. Where is the chink in the armor? Where is the handle? I talked about the handle on the big sphere ball bearing. What handle could we use to get James thinking that maybe now might be better? Anyone want to take a stab at that?
And Denny, that was exactly the conversation I had at an open house on Saturday, so that's why it's fresh in my mind. I got to this point, and then they were kind of like, well, okay, we'll check back with you.
Okay. Anyone? I'm just kind of curious. There's probably the different directions you can go. And the challenge in open houses, particularly if you have other people coming in, you might be interrupted, or you're not in a controlled setting. They can leave anytime they want. So, probably the best you can do in that situation is have the opportunity to follow up with them. So what would be maybe a boundary question that would be out of the blue question that might make them stop to think? I've got one that's rolling around in my brain. Does anybody have any others? I see.
So I was wondering, it's for James, when you said you were perhaps going to be a grandparent soon, are you talking within 9 months?
They weren't specific, but they said, that I think their daughter-in-law, they were talking about it, so they don't have one yet, but it was, on the horizon.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is I went through this similar situation. My wife and I just had a baby 6 months ago, and my wife's family came to visit, and they couldn't stay long because they were staying in our house, and if they had their own place to live, which they've been talking about doing for a while, they could have stayed and been able to be with us and watch the baby grow up and never miss a moment. And since they don't have a property in Florida, they can only stay for about a week and a half before they had to go home again.
So
how do you feel about that for you?
What question could you ask then?
So because you're having a family, your family's growing, would you find it important to be there for them?
Yeah, I definitely would want to be a part of their lives more once we have another grandchild in the picture.
And in order to be prepared for that, because real estate transactions could take a while and you want to find just the right place, why don't we just go ahead and start taking a look now so that we can be prepared for when that moment happens, okay?
Yeah, doesn't hurt to look.
Yeah, that's all we're doing is looking because we want to be prepared, right?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. So let's get together, you and your wife and I, and we'll talk about what the next step is.
Okay, so,
Good.
all right. So I like the direction you're going, Paul. So here's the thing is that, and Gary says this, are we really attached to the outcome that they have to buy, be a 10 buyer or a 1 buyer ready to want? I'm confusing you now. An A buyer that wants to buy right away. Short of them wanting to buy right away, what is the win in the conversation? Paul, you were going there. In fact, I think you went there with it. Is to have the permission to stay in touch. Give them a reason why they may want to stay in touch. So Paul, you sometimes it's short of closing the sale is closing the follow-up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And another question, this is what you're right along the same thinking I was, Paul. I would have said, well, I understand you're not in a big hurry. However, let me ask you, every now and then, James, we run into a seller that, I know the market's super hot and there might be a really interesting situation where they don't have to move out right away. They may want to they're willing to discount their property because they want to be there until their son finishes high school or something like that. If we run across and here's the boundary question. If we run across a smoking deal, I can't say deal. Tommy Hopkins says I can't say deal. It's ingrained in me. If we run into a smoking opportunity on a property, would it be okay if I kept you informed on it?
Absolutely.
Now, I think you can make a win there because if they're kind of backing up, it gives you the opportunity to follow up with them in the database. I mean, if we had here's a boundary question, James. If we had one out there that was near your daughter, it was buy one get one free. Would you want to know about it?
Absolutely.
Now, you see now, yeah, because he's not motivated because he doesn't think the market's in his favor. However, that gives you the permission to follow up. And I think basically that is the win. If they're not ready to buy now, there may be nothing we can do about it. Gary says it's okay. Get them in your database and then always give them something meaningful to follow up. So awesome job. Any other comments on that? Nice job, Paul, to bring that in because you actually close them on the follow-up. And don't be disappointed, you guys, if you can't get them to buy right away. I don't want you to like use that as a loser's limp. I'm saying, you know what? Sometimes their thinking is their thinking, and regardless, it may make no sense to us. However, you know, if certain things have to happen before they buy or sell, and they're not ready, just be ready. Just be there when they are ready. All right. Anything to close that out?
Sure. I have a question.
Yeah.
So James, what conditions would there have to be for you to want to buy a place right now?
Oh, it'd just have to be a great deal. I'd have to figure that it was worth the money that we're putting down on it.
And how do we determine that? What is
Well, I'd have to look at the house and then see what price it's coming in at and see if I think it's worth the money that it's being asked for.
Okay, well, let's do that then. I'll find you a great deal. Oh, I'm not supposed to say deal. Oh, great opportunity.
Great opportunity.
Yeah. You guys, who was taught that? You don't say deal. Come on. Some of you Tommy Hopkinites. Here's the other thing, Paul. One more thing on that. I don't know if you've been with me that was a great question. Probably what we would have done though is to isolate. Well, I understand that because other than it being a great deal, what else would have to happen? There might be something else in there, kind of isolate. And then I'd follow up with a question you just asked is define a good deal for me. Again, that's an awesome way to stay in touch with them. All right, who's got a situation out there they want to talk about? I've got some other things here just in case you're not talkative. And Sonny's prepared to do a role play anyway. So who has had a situation this week that stumped you a little bit? Hi, David.
Hello. So I have a situation. I was on a listing appointment 2 days ago. It went pretty well. And one of the spouses was closed on me already. He was willing to sign. And then the other spouse, surprised that she interviewed a friend before I came in. And she swore, she's an Italian lady, funny. She swore a few times that I was saying the same things that her friend was saying, and we're on the same level. And she wants some time to make up her mind. And, you know, I kept closing a few times, but I wasn't able to get them to sign the paperwork. So I don't, maybe you have a different way of closing the other spouse rather than, you know, she wants to wait to make up her mind if she's going to pick me or her friend.
And so you don't know yet?
So right now, I don't know yet. I mean, I spoke to the one spouse. He told me, I'm pretty sure she's going to pick you. I really want to pick you, but he doesn't want to push his wife. So I'm in limbo right now. I'm waiting.
So now I know we've had some conversations before. And you've got a very formidable competitor there. It's not that person, is it?
No, it's not her. No.
Okay. Well, that's the typical friend in the business type situation, right?
Right.
So obviously, who would like to lead off with a question?
I've got one.
Yeah. Who is that? I didn't see it.
It's Leah. I'm Paul, but I'm Leah.
Oh yeah. Hey, Mia.
Hey, my question would be, do you really want your close friend in all of your personal finances?
Okay, David, role play that.
Okay. Well, she's not such a close friend, but you know, I met her maybe 2 months ago, and she kept following up, wanting to be the listing agent on my house. So I don't think, you know, we're that close that I'm going to have her look at my finances. I mean, I'm sorry, I wouldn't mind her looking at my finances, really. Not, you know, it's not like a relative. It's a business relationship, but she's a friend also.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning you just met her yesterday and 10 meaning it's a lifelong friend, where would you place her on that scale?
Probably a 6.
Okay. And do you want to use her for confidence or because of obligation?
Both. I mean, she seems very competent as well. You know.
Seems, however, I mean, you are you sure or just she seems competent?
No, I mean, she doesn't sell here in my area. She's like 5 miles away in a different niche. But she showed me a track record. She seems to sell, you know, quite a lot of homes in that area. So I know that she knows how to sell.
And so when you look at my resume, how would you compare her to me then?
It looks like you sell a lot more houses over here in this area than her.
Okay. What else? Now notice I didn't dig there. I want what else? How else would you compare us?
Oh, you seem, I feel very comfortable with you. You seem very straight, like you're a straight shooter, honest. And I see that you're highly qualified. And I also like the fact that you were persistent and kept following us with up. That's why we told you to come over.
Do you think that would be in your advantage if you had a buyer that was out there and wasn't quite sure? Would you want someone that was very familiar with the area? Like, you know, you said, I sell more homes in this area than your quote friend, right?
Right.
And do you like the follow up, and you like your agent to be a little tenacious? If you have a buyer that's on the fence, or maybe there's 2 buyers, could you see how my ability to follow up might put more money in your pocket?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's a great point you're making.
And so then I'm a little bit confused, because I think that you've basically said that my level, although both of us are confident, my level of familiarity and production in your neighborhood is stronger than your friend, and your friend is only a 6. It's like it's kind of in the middle of the road. So it looks to me like it is you wanting to go with her is not on a confidence situation. It's more an obligation. Is that true?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. It's a bit, I feel a bit uncomfortable to just bump her off and tell her that I'm going to go with you.
Okay, now I've taken him to that point. Who can land the plane?
What if we paid your friend a referral fee and then I'll take the listing?
All right, now you can go there. That's first. Now, however, can you set that up? Can you set that up first? You need. I would advise you get a commitment before you lay the cookie on the table.
Well, I tried when I
Okay.
was there. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I would say, yeah, if you don't want to offend your friend, what if we were to, you know, give her a referral fee, and then we could go ahead and get the listing going for you and get your house sold?
Right. Now, right. I would, my line is, how would you like to have your cake and eat it too?
Right.
So how about if we could make this a win-win for your friend, where, you know, you felt good about it, and then you had my horsepower behind you with that. See, what I want you to do is, sometimes it's the question before the question that you actually lay the, what do they call that, you know, rope on the ground, you know, then you step on a snare. You lay I don't mean to be saying a trap. You are setting them up for the closing question. Now, if you've been through Bold, there is another script used before that. We can always give money away to make a problem go away. What's the script without giving money away? Does anybody remember from Bold or other sales training?
Would it make you feel more comfortable if I reach out to your friend and ask her in a nice way, and tell her in a nice way that you guys chose me over her, but I would be happy if she brings the buyer?
Yeah, okay, somebody, was that Kristen? Was that just background noise? David, that's the bold script. Yes. He said, would it make you feel better if I were to call her and say, look, you liked her and you liked me a little bit more because I specialize in this area. However, she wanted me to call to let you know that that it's on the market and you're going to be you're the first one to know about it. So you can let your buyers know about it first. How about if I did that? And it kind of takes her off the hook of having the call, right? Because that may be what it is. And then that one, James, I'd do before probably the referral fee. The referral fee would be probably last. There's one more play I think you have here, at least one more. I'm not saying I can see them all at one time. Sometimes in the middle of the night I wake up and think, oh, why didn't I think of that? There's another angle. What is it, you guys? Very, very common when you have a disagreement between the couple. Come on. Who's the one that's in your court, David?
The husband is in my court.
Okay. Then how could you leverage the husband in your favor? You've got an ally.
Mm-hmm.
How could you leverage that? Why don't you just ask him? Now, maybe he doesn't know maybe he does not have the relationship with the other agent like the wife does. You know, maybe he just doesn't know her, doesn't know who she is. However, say, I'll just say his name's Fred. Fred, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, if the decision was up to you, who would you pick? David, you're Fred.
I would pick you.
All right. And I appreciate that very much. Can you share with me why?
You're the only realtor that kept coming periodically, knocking on my door and, following up if I'm ready to sell. So I like that very much.
Now, hang on a second. Notice I didn't say, will you share with your wife why? You see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Share with me why. Because if you said it the other way, it's almost like you're hiring him to attack her or her
Right.
feelings.
Right.
So that's where you have to be a little bit strategic. So, all right. So you like the way it followed up. Okay. Thank you very much. I mean, I work at that. I work at that because my clients pay a lot of money for me to do a good job. So anyway, and why else would you select me over her?
You seem to have a great knowledge of the market here. I see you sell a lot of homes and you actually live very close to my house.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Can you think of a benefit to you that I am so close, other than the fact that I know the market here in this neighborhood extremely well? Can you think of another benefit of me being so close?
Yeah, if a buyer calls on my house right now or calls on the sign, you're right here. You could be here in 2 minutes.
Isn't that strong?
That's a very strong point, yeah.
And you know what? And they could come up with some other things. You guys be the buyer. You be Fred. What else could Fred say that would help? Just kind of like they're doing the Ben Franklin. You get all the positives and all the negatives. So what else might Fred say in this situation?
By me being the neighborhood expert and I live in this area, I'm going to protect the home values.
Yeah, I see that all the time. That's an excellent point, Nicole. Excellent point. Who's got another one?
So if I'm the agent and you've convinced me that I'm the best person for the job, and I know I'm the best person for the job. The question I have for you is, even though we're not friends now, we eventually could be friends after this transaction's over. The most important thing to understand is, because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or ruin relationships, do you think that the person you met a couple of months ago that's your friend would not be your friend anymore if I was the one that sold your house for you?
Well, I hadn't thought about that.
Well, if they aren't going to be friends with you anymore because they didn't sell your house, were they really your friend in the first place?
Good point.
Hmm.
Good point.
Be
How
your
about
friend to sell your
how
house.
is a friendship worth $10,000 or $20,000 to you? So David's got another issue, if you don't mind me saying, because this is a common issue. David's business is growing, and and there's already a top agent. He's going against this agent over and over and over again. Is anybody in the similar situation? It's not like it's a friend who is a policeman and does real estate part-time. It's a very formidable agent. And so we've had a role play around a couple of different things about how he can, what his strengths are relative to the other agent. So we talked earlier this week about something too, David. Did that work out?
So I went on the appointment, and I asked him on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I right now? I'm at a 7, and I don't think it came up so much that I'm against the other agent. What he was concerned.
You're breaking up. Breaking up. So you back?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So he didn't bring up the other agent that I'm against her. He told me on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 7. So I told him, what would it take me to get to a 10? And he told me he's concerned that I'm not giving him specifically what price he should be listing his house at. He wants more guidance on the price, and I kept talking around it, trying to get him to give me the price. So that was a challenge. That was what his concern was at the appointment.
I don't find that very challenging. I mean, you could say, well, here are the comps. There's the comps, the market maybe plus that. Again, I don't know how far the market is. So, would you rather sell it fast, leave money on the table, or would you rather start aggressively? And if we're wrong, come on down. Would that question work with him?
It might. He told me something interesting. If he's going to price his home $200,000 above where it's supposed to be, and after 2 weeks come down to $100,000, his concern was buyers that are looking that I dropped the price within 2 weeks. Maybe they're going to think this is a fire sale, and I want to get rid of this house.
Well, then why overprice it $200,000 to begin with?
Right. So he was expecting from me to give him a number where he shouldn't have to drop it by $200,000.
I had one more that came in. This is a seller one. This is kind of like a similar thing as the buyer. The seller is going to want to wait. We don't want to sell until we return this fall. We want to be there because of our valuables. So basically, they're somewhere else. They're going to come down, and they don't want to have their house on the market when they're not here. So legitimate. Somebody sent that in on the bold page. How do you handle that situation? Does anybody like to have role play that? Sonny, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you can be that seller. And then who would like to role play with Sonny? And I can tell you she's generally not easy.
No, I'm sorry.
Anyone want to take a stab at it? How about the first question?
Did you get my thing back?
What would be your lead-off question? This is an easy one.
Oh, you
Other than that,
did. Okay, perfect.
other than that, Sonny, is there any other reason why you wouldn't have your home on the market now?
Well, Denny, we have a lot of valuables in our house, and, are you going to be there at every single showing?
Well, again, if I were there at every showing, would that mean that you don't have to be here?
I don't know. I don't think I feel comfortable. I think, I really need to be in the house to make sure that, nothing is touched
Okay.
or taken.
Other than your valuables and you're concerned about that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't be listing your home right now?
You want there to be another reason, Denny? I'm off script now.
Well, I mean, we don't have to make it a long role play. You
Okay,
can- I
so
just-
no.
Okay, so I'm just demonstrating the isolation.
Okay, no, that's
Okay.
really the only reason.
Now that I've gotten to that point, now we're isolated. What questions are rolling around your brain? There's no bad questions. There's just good questions and great questions. So what question would you ask next, you guys? And there's no right or wrong.
I would ask her, Denny, this is John.
Hi, John.
Okay. You have a very nice house. What valuables are you concerned with? Specific
Okay.
value.
Fair question.
Well, I have artwork and jewelry and just some family heirlooms that, I don't want anybody to take them. And I have heard stories that, the realtor's there and they go into a different room and somebody takes something and, I won't ever be able to get it back.
Okay. Who's it followed up?
What kind of security measures do you have in place to protect your valuables when you're not there now?
What a great question.
Yep.
Well, I have security cameras all throughout the house. And, we have a German Shepherd. So if anybody comes in the house,
The
they'll
dog,
attack them.
the dog lives there by himself?
Well, she said right now, and we're here in the house now.
Oh, well, okay. So you're going to be leaving though, right? Because I
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. So, we have security cameras all over the house and that's really it.
Okay. Who's got the follow-up? That was a great question, by the way.
It was really good.
So what would be the difference if I were to be there showing your home to a registered buyer whose information I have, as opposed to your belongings just sitting there with no one there with just the security cameras? You have 2 layers of protection, the security cameras, and then I'm also there.
I mean, that's a really good question. I just feel like, I just feel like we're opening ourselves up because they know that we're not there. They know that we're out of town and they could just be scoping our house out to come back later. I mean, I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable.
So let me ask you a question. That was a good line of thought, questioning there too. Let me ask you this question. If when you're gone, do you have a home watch service that comes by and checks to make sure the toilets aren't leaking, or maybe a cleaning person come by, or pest control people come by?
Absolutely not. We don't let anybody in our house when we're gone.
Okay, and so when you, what if there was an armed guard there when there was a showing? How would you feel about that?
Well, if you can
that is a boundary question, guys. That is what's called a boundary question. Because if she says, well, I'd feel good about that, then it's not that she wouldn't have her house on the market. There is an acceptable degree of risk. So let's say that I was there and I had a security guard with me as well.
I might feel better about that as, so that if the family broke up and you were in one room and somebody was always watching everybody, I might feel a little bit more comfortable with that.
Okay, so she's still doing the moonwalk, right? Now, again, so what we're going to do is sometimes instead of going and just asking a bunch of little questions, just say, okay, I tell you what, let's if I had a Navy SEAL in every room, right? I mean, there's a lot of that. What if I had a Navy SEAL in every room? How would you feel about that?
I'd probably feel better.
Would you move forward?
Possibly.
All right. Okay. So here's the thing, you guys. When you hear possibly, what else? There's something like clogging up the pipeline here. When you say possibly, what else would hold you back, Sonny?
Well, I mean, I just keep hearing that we're in a really great market and, it's only a couple months until we're going to be back. And I just, I don't want to leave any money on the table either.
So between now you hear 2 objections between the security of your valuables and leaving money on the table. Which one of those 2 really float to the top for you right now?
Probably I don't want to leave money on the table.
Now, I'm just going to stop because, you know, we're not rehearsing this, and, you know, she's not really a buyer. So she's just playing a role. Can something like that happen? Now we attempted to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. We thought we were there. And then when you ask the boundary question, if you have a Navy SEAL in every room, well, possibly. When you ask that boundary question and they still moonwalk on you, you know you haven't gotten all the pebbles out of the wound yet. Does that make sense? That should be a V8 moment. That's like a seller saying, I'm not going to sell. I want people walking through my house and I don't want to get the virus. What if you could sell it for top dollar and have no one walk through that? No one. If they would say no to that, you know there's a problem, right? So sometimes you have to ask that boundary question. You got to take it all the way to the extreme. I'm not going to buy in this market. It's crazy. Are you saying if the house were free, you wouldn't take it? Oh, yeah, I'd take it. Well, then it's really not you wouldn't buy or own. It's just like you just want the right deal, right? Because you find out where the boundary is, then you backfill until you get to a point that's reasonable. I'm going to just stop right there and just say that's kind of an important point, you guys. And does anybody do that?
Learning from you, Denny.
Well, don't be afraid to ask that question. So what are your ahas? And I'll go the one more slide here. Okay. I think I might have some new people on this slide. I'm going to skip this one right now. I'll get that next week. For those that have not been on my call yet, make sure you, let me go, put me on speaker view already so you can see this. You guys make sure that you have the 7 reasons why a seller should act now. Take a picture of that. Or if you can't do that because you're moving, just email me at dennydelivers@gmail.com, and I'll have my assistant send it to you. And the script that goes with that. Something that's new, you guys, is this. I don't think I shared this last week because this just came in this week. I might have shared it on Thursday. People are using the 7 things and they're making a social media message out of it. Guy here from Palm Beach, Florida. There was somebody else, I think, from New York. And I just started doing it too. I know it's not a very good, clear picture because I enlarged it. I'm putting on Facebook, hey, look, there's 7 reasons why a seller should be on the market now. Would you like to know what they are? And I've just launched mine, and these guys are already saying it. Their phone is ringing. A listing taken is a listing sold. And so I encourage you guys to do that because it just might bring you a shadow seller. Those that are involved in Bold Pivot, they're going to be talking about this and the WD-40 Touch and Bold Pivot today. So I trust you're registered for that. So what kind of ahas do we have? Anything. You can chat them in or talk them in if you want to. On Thursday, I'm going to be sharing with you some things that Gary has been talking about that I find very, very interesting about going vertical in your career. Anybody? Ahas?
Denny, I thought there was a big aha from the fact that you said taking it to the extreme is really the key. Would you, if it was a buy one, get one free house, would you buy now? If I put a Navy SEAL in every room, would that make you feel secure? I mean, that's a great way to take it to the extreme and then back it off to reality.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that because it is a great strategy. Thanks, James. Anybody else? 2 more, please. This is my pay.
I would say just isolating what the actual objection is. And, you know, sometimes you can go through all of this whole thing with them and then we finally get to the core of it and that's not even the real objection.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. 1 more and you get out of school early. Wasn't that a great thing? We got out of school early. Get out of class. I mean.
For me, Denny, as the buyer, or the seller, when you kind of took it to the extreme, it kind of made me laugh inside and it kind of brought my guard down as well, which I wasn't expecting that to do, but it really did do that. So it kind of made me see how extreme I was being as well.
Good. Well, that was awesome. I appreciate that. I think that was the first time I've ever articulated that concept of taking it to the extreme and backfilling. I just kind of did that. And one of the things, I'll just give you a preview that Gary was talking about on his Think Like a CEO was he was doing early in his career, he would go to the market centers, he would drive to them and spend time with them, train them or whatever, and they were profitable. Then he would leave and they would become a cluster again. And then he finally had somebody follow him around to document everything he did. And what was interesting, and here's the aha, is that it goes back to the McDonald's French fry stories. Does anybody remember the story about the McDonald's French fries? I'll tell it to you really fast. When Ray Kroc wanted to buy from the McDonald's people that owned it, he wanted to be able to duplicate the French fries, and so he went and he figured out the cookers and all the right kind of oil and the temperature, blah blah blah, and he could never make the French fries turn out. So he went back to the beginning and traced it from the fryer all the way back to the potato grower, where the potatoes were taken. They were grown in California. And they discovered it had nothing to do with the cooking process. He discovered the secret in the French fries was in the curing of the potatoes. And so what they did then is they bought potatoes from other people and cured them a certain way that give the French fries the taste. So it was something that was kind of hidden in there that made it work. And so when Gary would go to these market centers and everyone was, everything worked, then he'd go away. He didn't know what he wasn't doing. So he hired people to go around and film him and take notes and document all the things he did. It was the things he did unconsciously that made the difference. So it made me think about some of the things that maybe some of us do unconsciously. It contributes to our success. And we have a hard time getting other people to do it because we're unconsciously confident. And that concept of taking it to the extreme and backfilling, I've never articulated that before. I just thought that. So I think it's a major point. I think it'll really help you in sales, and I appreciate you being on a call. Don't forget to go to my YouTube, Denny Delivers, and subscribe. I made it over 100, so I can make some changes on it now, and I'd like to keep pushing that. Plus, it'd be a good resource for you. I trust you'll be safe and well out there. My number, reach out to me if I can be of help to you. All right, 239-851-4600. That's even you guys on Facebook. See ya.
Thank you, Denny.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.